So this article came across my radar, and I thought I'd take a look at it. Tulsi Gabbard again has been one Democratic candidate that I feel like has got her head on straight. She seems like she's understanding some of the bigger issues we're facing. So she's decided to sign on as a co-sponsor to this bill to audit the Fed, which again is another reason why I think she's going to have a hard time against the other candidates, because I don't think this is something that it's not something people really understand. And it's not something that the mainstream party is going to try to back. But she's right. This should happen. The Fed should be audited. I'm coupling that with the news that the president had assigned, or he's nominated two people at least to the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors, who I think have also kind of looking at this the right way. The one, Judy Shelton, had talked about, she's a fan of the gold standard and she wants to return to the gold standard, along with two others that he had nominated and didn't get chosen, Stephen Moore and Herman Cain. But I think this is a really good article. CBS News puts out, well, I don't know if it's a great article, but it does kind of outline some of the important pieces. Now, so Shelton says she backs the gold standard and she's getting nominated to the Fed. Reading really quick, Shelton is raising eyebrows among mainstream economists for her views, which include slashing the Fed's benchmark rate to zero, not a great thing actually in my mind, and pegging the value of the dollar to gold prices. That's, again, makes sense. She's not the first Trump pick. I've talked about this already. Two other failed attempts. So the article goes on. In picking Shelton, Mr. Trump is aiming to place a supporter on the Federal Reserve, which he's argued is slowing economic growth and depressing the stock market by keeping interest rates too high. In my last video, I talked about the idea of lowering rates while the economy is doing well is not something that not something that happens historically. So it just seems weird that he wants to keep on lowering rates. And I don't know how that matches up to a gold standard. Further on in the article, to be sure, Mr. Trump's second pick, economist Christopher Waller, holds more mainstream economic views. The research director at the Federal Reserve Bank in St. Louis, Waller has expressed support for the independence of the Federal Reserve and allowing inflation to run a bit higher in order to help the economy recover from slowdowns. Right now, we're not in slowdowns. Why allow the inflation rate to run higher? It sounds like backwards from what's actually happening out there. As inflation rises, remember, people's savings are drained. It's a hidden tax, or it's a fee for holding on to money. So, now remember, that's the thinking. If you're getting charged for holding on to money, you'll start going out and spending it as opposed to holding on to it. But that doesn't really, just spending money willy-nilly doesn't help you with your home, with holding on to things at the house. Further on in the article, the CBS article talks about what is a gold standard. Well, it's a policy that links the value of the country's currency to gold. The U.S. adopted it in 1879, and it allowed consumers, banks, and businesses to exchange dollars for actual gold. Actually, what it really did was it gave a steady benchmark for how much the price of the dollar should be. It wasn't just flying all over the place. The upshot is the countries that on the gold standard have less flexibility to respond to a financial crisis or economic downturns. Currently, the U.S. dollar isn't tied to any specific asset. Now, what they're saying is, the government can't just go on and print money whenever they want to when you're tied to a gold standard. And why does Sheldon and others, argue for returning to the gold standard? Well, again, from the article, it would mark a return to stability and hamper other governments from currency manipulation. Sure, a classic gold standard establishes an international benchmark for currency values, consistent with free trading principles. She added, today's arrangement permits governments to manipulate their currencies in order to gain export advantage. Now, that's what we're facing right now. Not just the United States. When she says return to the gold standard, she doesn't mean just our country. She means the world returning to a gold standard. Of course, CBS wants to put out there, why do mainstream economics believe this is a fringe view? And here's where they start slamming in the article the gold standard. The U.S. economy has grown in complexity since 1971 and certainly since 1933, making a policy less feasible than in earlier eras. Return to the gold standard could in effect tie the Fed's hands because the Fed's banks would be focused on gold prices, which are partially based on how much the commodity is being mined. Yeah, it would send the gold prices up, is what they're saying, because there's not so much of it, and gold prices would have to rise to match the amount of currency that they want to print. Disaster for a large advanced economy, says University of Chicago economist. I'm not going to try to say the name. So, and then it has to like really insult people. It implies macroeconomic illiteracy. Well, no, it doesn't. It means that we want government to be constrained by some means, or the economic policies of a government to be constrained. Again, so price of gold is way up, is what they're saying, and it's up to 1,400 an ounce, which is it's good for people who are holding gold. So who's holding gold? Like is this something that that places are doing, that people are doing? Well, let's I did a really quick Google search. Like, is China holding gold? Look what I found for articles. There's a ton of them, right? China's been on a big gold buying spree for years now. Are they? And they're ramping up. They're holding on to a lot more gold. And does this mean that maybe they think that returning to a gold standard is going to happen? Possibly, right? How about Russia, our other competitor? Same thing, like a bunch of articles. Russia is holding, going out there and buying gold, stocking up on their gold reserves. And because I'm a visual thinker, I wanted to find some graphs, and I found graphs on both. Here's China. Here's how they're buying up gold and dropping out their U.S. dollar reserves. Same thing with Russia. They're buying gold and dumping their dollars. So when they dump their dollars and they're forcing them back into our system, that again, the more dollars that are out floating around, the less valuable they are. And so it brings down our purchasing power of the dollar. They're doing this while they're bringing in gold into their countries. I tried to actually find an article talking about how much gold the Fed is buying. Are they ramping up as well? Didn't really find anything. I did, however, find this graph, which I thought was also really telling. And this is if you make the price of price of gold go that's 100%. That's the standard. Look at how all the other currencies have been depreciated relative to gold over the years, right? It's amazing. Like here, the green line, our dollar, 1933, the formation of the Federal Reserve. Watch the dollar just drop. We're down to like 2%, maybe 5%, probably less than that, more like 2% of what it used to be the dollar used to be able to purchase, against gold. So that's the way that I look at metals and gold. And again, the concept is it takes a lot of energy and a lot of time to mine gold out of the ground, and money is time and energy put into something. It doesn't take anything for the printing presses to rattle off another dollar. There's nothing backing it. There's no time or energy put into it the way that it is put into gold. And there's no scarcity because they can make as much as they want to. As a matter of fact, more being dumped into the system as these countries drop their treasury notes. So all this to say, again, becoming a little bit literate about how the gold standard works. Are we heading back into it? Well, a couple countries anyway seem to think that it's important to hold on to gold. If you really want to be smart, you follow what the big players who are on the inside track do. And I would say Russia and China are on the inside track. They know that for some reason they're pulling in gold. They must know it's worth something or going to be worth something in the future. They're getting it now while it's cheap. And you might consider doing the same thing yourself. I'm just saying that it's worth getting educated about. So the question can come up, how do I go out and get gold or silver if I want to hold it physically? Because I'm not talking about buying like GLD or stock, paper gold, paper silver. It's really simple. Again, just go to Google again, go to the maps, put it in CoinStore, and you'll see there's a lot of them around. And I'm in the Central Florida area, so you can find them. There's tons of them stores out here. You just go to the store and ask them, listen, I'd like to buy an ounce or two. Just go and hold a coin in your hand. You'll feel it's kind of nice to hold. But that's the best way to do it, really. Just go to a store, walk in with cash, walk out with something that's holding on to its value over time. Again, if you like the channel, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Maybe hit the alerts if you want to see when new videos are coming out. I'm trying to put a video out a day, but about to go on vacation, so that might slow down a little bit. And then I appreciate it if you got it a back and you want to throw a t-shirt on it. I've got the store at Threadless. The link is also available down below. Cheers.